Right, outsmarting commissioning. Now listen, I've got to give you a disclaimer at the beginning of this. This is not an attack on commissioners. Hands up, who loves commissioners? I love commissioners. I mean, literally, commissioners, I think, are the best people in the industry. They're just incredible people. I absolutely love them. But I am here to give you some doom and gloom because television is in a bit of a pickle. The system's broken. We are all doomed. We're in hell. Who remembers this? Do you remember this? This is when we were in heaven. Producers were happy. Things were good. There was loads of work. The boat was sailing. In fact, I need some sailing puns here, like, you know, the wind was behind our sails. Anyone? Tom Golseven, give me one. God, he was in heaven. Come on, Ben. Sorry? Smooth seas. There you go. Well done. Following wind. Tom, you're sacked. We were content. We were content. Look, even the pandemic was amazing. I mean, it wasn't obviously from a health perspective, but the pandemic was the time that we sort of got to sort of readdress life. We sort of all got to work from home, which was great. And actually, you know, commissioners were stockpiling content. Things were stopped. Once we'd got through the initial worry of what we were going to do, everyone started to get very productive and make things, and it was a really good time. And actually, you know, it was nervy, but the only thing we had to worry about at that time was going to a commissioner and them not actually commissioning the idea that you wanted to make. You'd go into a commissioner and say, look, I've got this great idea for a pizza, and they would go, that's great. Do you think you could make it vegan and gluten-free? And actually, do you think we could make it noodles? But to be fair, you know, I like noodles. And actually, you know, back in those days, the fact that we were making noodles, why not? At least you were making it for a noodle factory. That's where commissioning does work for me. You know, I do think we have to have that stress tension. I do think there's that thing that when you do work with a commissioner, they do help make things better. And actually, what they do is they tailor it for the thing that you're making it for. Anyway, things were going well. We were on fire. Fast forward to 2023. We were on fire. Anyone got any boat hell jokes? We were sailing into the fire. Titanic. There you go. Titanic, we were sinking. Thanks, Ben. And actually, at Spirit, I don't know if you know what we do at Spirit, but we make television, we make podcasts, we do branded content, and we also produce and own and operate some social channels ourselves. And things were going really well. About 3 years ago, Channel 4 had invested in us. We became part of the Indie Growth Fund. We'd started scaling up. And by the middle of last year, we were in such a brilliant position where we had 2 dramas with different major broadcasters in the UK. We had a 3-part streamer series. And we had a Saturday night entertainment show, all stacking up to make it look like we were going to have a really, really successful time. And then within the same 24 hours, every single one of them got cancelled. Now, for those that are in the TV industry, I think a lot of people will resonate with that because last year was the beginning of hell. And, you know, what we hear a lot of is that survive the 25. And in fact, I don't know if anyone's heard this latest one, which is stay in the mix till 26. So every time I speak to another indie, especially in the TV side, you know, at MIP or at Edinburgh, everybody's doom and gloom. And actually, I think this room is probably different. This room feels exciting. It feels like the future. You can really see that shift now in what's happening and where we're going with content. But for the others, I do think that it is a bit of a sort of it's a sinking time, and it is probably scary if you haven't got your foot in this door. So how do we get to heaven by 27? Remember that, you heard it here first. Well, we're going to need a better boat. Now, most people in this room have a better boat, I imagine. But for those that don't, there's a boat that we recently built at Spirit. And anyone else got any other boat analogies? No? Good. So we've built another boat, and this is what I'm here to talk to you about today. So I'm going to talk to you about our case study. So we've called it Outsmarting Commissioning Hell because Justin titled it. And what we're trying to do here is give you some ideas about how you can use digital content. I mean, we've heard some stuff in the last hour or so, but how you can use your digital content, how you can scale it up and exploit that IP and do other things with it. So about 18 months ago, we got a commission. I love commissioners, did I say that? From Channel 4's digital team. We made a 10-part YouTube series called Outsmarting. Now, Outsmarting is a show which talks about people that outsmarted their assailants. Things like cults, scammers, kidnappers, that sort of thing. And it performed really well. In fact, here's a little clip.
If we left the house, we would die.
They're constantly being watched. He's sowing the seeds of fear.
It's fair to say that I manipulated her.
You can only imagine what might happen to her if she gets caught.
My name is Katie Morgan Davies. I was born into a cult. I was not able to escape till the age of 30. This is how I did it. There were around a dozen cult members. We all lived in the house together, and I was the only child. It was a Maoist collective, and then at some point it moved from being a radical communist group to becoming a personality cult.
Listening to Katie's story, it's really horrific what she's been through. I imagine that some of her experiences and feelings would be quite typical for people who grow up in a cult. Usually there's this massive sense of insecurity and anxiety and fear.
So the show performed really well across the digital channels at Channel 4. But at the time of casting, we just felt that the stories were so great that they could have another life elsewhere. So actually, at the time of producing it, we had a brainwave. What if we could film, a bit like actually What's Wrong, What You've Done, what if we could film the content for the digital series, but also bank the content to make a podcast, because we make podcasts at Spirit, and also could there be a long-form TV series, because we also do that. Could we create one piece of content and exploit it in lots of different ways? So in order to do that and sell that in the different ways, we would need to get a distributor on board. So we went to Quintus Studios. Does anyone know Quintus Studios? The lovely people at Quintus. And we put all our content in a lorry, and we said to Anouk, do us a favour, drive around the world and go and sell our ideas. Anyway, they agreed to do it. And in fact, it was this time last year, we actually pitched this show at The Drop, which is something that's coming up later today. And it was off the back of that Quintus said to us, look, have you thought about taking this further? Can we help you? And we said, absolutely, we would love to do that. Let's talk about selling this as a long-form TV series. And they said, okay, brilliant. Assuming you have the rights. Shit. No, we didn't have the rights. So we had to get a bit of muscle and think to ourselves, we need to go back to Channel 4. And my business partner, for those that know him, Peter, a little bit older than me, I think he's been worried slightly about, there's this trend now for people in sort of middle to late age about how strength training is a thing. So he's been going to the gym quite a lot. So I sent him into Channel 4 to have an arm wrestle and get our rights back. And they were there for hours. In fact, to be honest with you, it took a few weeks. And they arm wrestled, and eventually we agreed on a draw. And we agreed that actually what we would do is we would be allowed to go out and try and sell this thing, and then they would get a share of the back end too. A win-win situation. And so, in production at the moment, I'm proud to say that Outsmarting Evil is becoming a podcast. And here is a little clip. I'm going to play you a clip so you can see the difference between the format of the digital show and how we're going to work with it in audio.
In other news, 3 women have been freed after allegedly spending 30 years in captivity.
False imprisonment, child cruelty, assault and rape of 2 of the other cult members.
Aravindan Balakrishnan, or Bala.
Aravindan Balakrishnan.
Aravindan Balakrishnan.
Aravindan Balakrishnan.
Aravindan Balakrishnan.
I wasn't allowed to go to school. I wasn't allowed to see a doctor or a dentist. Comrade Bala told us that if we left the house, we would die. I was just absolutely terrified. I just grew up in fear, and I was forever treading on eggshells. It's kind of like you never know what's going to happen next, so you have to constantly tense up. So even to this day, I find it really difficult to relax. And if there's a loud noise, or if there's any anger or aggression, I literally become paralyzed.
That's the voice of Katie Morgan Davies, a woman who was imprisoned in an ordinary-looking house in South London for 30 years until her daring escape freed her, 2 other women, and brought the walls of her father's prison crumbling down. I'm fascinated by the stories of victims who overcome their powerful oppressors, and today we're going to hear, in her own words, how Katie used patience, cunning and courage to outsmart her cult leader father.
My name is Katie Morgan Davies, and I outsmarted a cult.
And then I'm very pleased to say that we have a TV series in the edit at the moment, using the same content from the first Channel 4 series that we made, and is looking to be on air next year in the UK and beyond. I'll show you a little trailer.
If we left the house, we would die.
Put my medal on.
I told him that I wanted him to stop.
Whose blood to spill?
A 2-year back-to-back campaign of harassment.
Whose side I'm on.
I backed away, I had my hands out.
This is how villains are made.
Choked me and he slapped me in my face.
Claimed to have 2 bombs.
And didn't allow us to have glutes.
I would be able to have an opportunity to escape from there.
I thought, great, he's bought in now.
The most dire situation happened to also be our best opportunity to get out of the line of sight of the doorway.
I sneaked to the bathroom. I stepped on the sink and climbed to that window. And I jumped.
If it fails, she might invoke the wrath of the traffickers.
You f***ing a**hole, you piece of shit.
And I thought, I'll go along with that.
Piece of shit, piece of shit, piece of shit.
He's created the perfect persona of a victim.
He thought that nobody would ever be able to successfully challenge him, and he was complacent about that.
She is the absolute definition of survivor, and she's a thing of great hope.
This is how villains are made.
So, imagine if you could create that digital series yourself, create a podcast yourself, use the digital revenues to then fund your long-form editing, even bring on a distributor and then sell that long-form. You can build yourself a brand and outsmart commissioning. And in fact, you could get yourself back on the dreamboat. And not only could you have one dreamboat, you could get yourself a fleet. Thank you very much.